Hi.
We're waiting for everybody to pop on. What would people like to know about vacations today? It's such an exciting topic.
I was going to say, mine is more, I just like talking about vacation in general. So I just wanted to talk about something happy. So
I personally like going on vacation and not talking about it.
I like to do both. Like travel is my happy conversation thing, people start talking about their kids and soccer and I don't have a whole lot to add, but we get to vacation and I got a lot for you. So
That is true. I like talking about it and hearing what people do.
yeah.
When you hear about things that it's like, oh gosh, I've never thought about doing that. Okay,
one thing that I'm curious about, just maybe for my own sake, but also just in general for what you guys might be doing, with COVID, if somebody's on vacation and then they get COVID and then they have to quarantine, say in Mexico for 10 days, how are you handling that on your teams? Has that come up for anybody? And what does that look like? I mean, do they end up taking additional 10 days of PTO, or just curious to know if anybody has come up with that issue and kind of what you guys have done.
We have unlimited vacation, so there's not a PTO issue for us, but I know somebody on our team today tested positive for the second time. And so, we just all have been kind of pitching in and scrambling and trying to make it work around her. We haven't had anybody get stuck anywhere. It's been after they've come home and 2 or 3 days later they're not feeling well. So right now I think we have 3 people on our team with COVID. I haven't heard the results of the 3rd test, but yeah, so the rest of us are all just trying to keep the wheels on the bus. So
anybody else had something happen like Shannon's scenario?
I was supposed to go to Mexico in 2 weeks, and my plan was to bring my stuff with me. And then I ended up canceling the trip just out of caution. But we've talked about it before. We have another woman that's leaving and going on a cruise, and she's just going to take her stuff with her just to be 100% sure.
So the plan is if she gets stuck somewhere, she'll work remotely if possible.
Yeah, most of our admin staff already works remote right now. So they all have the ability to work 100% remotely. So that's not really a problem for us. It's just making sure that, hey, just don't forget your computer, just in case you're gone for an additional 10 days sitting on a boat, you can still get some stuff done.
Yeah, that we had an issue with that of somebody that their very new vehicle died in Louisiana and the dealership wasn't even going to be able to look at it for like 4 or 5 days. And she did not take a computer with her. And so, that's our new thing with everybody is like, no matter how, you don't need to open it on your scheduled time, but like while you're hanging out in a motel in Louisiana waiting for your car to be dealt with, you could be working in the motel. So
Angie, how does the unlimited PTO work?
It just, that's pretty much Austin. That's our job market. There's most of the tech companies have unlimited PTO and that kind of stuff. What I do with my TC and my listing managers, I ask them to not be gone at the same time. And then they can sort of flex for each other. So like one of them is taking the week before Christmas off and one of them's taking the week after Christmas off. And then, you know, we kind of chat about it with our vacations. I let them know when I'm going to be gone, and, you know, again, try to make sure they don't schedule around me. But we haven't had anybody that tries to take, you know, 50% of their time off. It's just sort of our team culture. We also really try to have the culture that you don't work 14-hour days, you know, and if we catch people doing it, we're like, nope, stop. Why are you sending me emails at 8 o'clock at night? Like, this isn't our cultures, you know, so.
Are these salaried employees, and are they getting paid during that time or no?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Angie, we have a similar situation up here at the Simone Group. I think we operate similarly to you in that regard. And, you know, I just came into the DOO position less than a year ago. It'll be a year mid-December. And it's been an adjustment for me coming from, you know, the corporate world where things are very cut and dried about, you know, having to be in the office and have, even during COVID, and, you know, only getting a certain number of days off and making sure that it's coordinated with everyone, because our team just doesn't, our team is able to come and go as they please, really. We are results based. So if we see that results aren't there, you know, we track a lot of things. If results aren't there, then we look at that, and we may have a conversation with someone about it during their 411, or if it gets to be even more so. In fact, while I've been with the company, we actually had to let someone go partially because they really didn't get the culture. They had been there for 4 years, but they were taking advantage of the fact that the culture was such that, you know, you have unlimited time, and she just wouldn't show up, and she wouldn't be accountable. And that's the piece, is the accountability piece, is as long as you're doing your job, as long as you're producing, as long as you are communicative with your team and you're not dropping the ball, that works for us. It's a big adjustment for me, though, and I have to check myself every once in a while and say, like, okay, just don't get hyper over this. Don't get paranoid. Don't think somebody's doing something intentionally or whatever. Sometimes people need time. And as long as the work gets done. So,
yeah. I mean, the counterpoint to it is then you don't have to pay anybody out when they leave. Like, they don't have a free vacation. And so you've got, that's sort of the count. That, when I was in tech, that was always their reasoning, was that it was HR didn't have to track it, or the people department didn't have to track it. And, you know, they didn't have to pay anybody out when they left, was why they did it when I was in tech. But again, that's just sort of the job market in Austin. And then what we find with a lot of our people too, because we are still all at home, a lot of times they're saying, oh, you know, I'm going to go back to Nebraska for 2 weeks and see my family, but then they really only take off their travel days. You know, that they'll say, oh, well, you know, I'm traveling on Monday and I'm traveling the next Thursday. So those 2 days I'm off, and they may pick another day while they're up there, but they'll sort of just work remote while they're hanging out with their family or whatever. So, you know, we've had that as well, but yeah, I mean, and a lot of it is they'll ping me and say, hey, you know, is it okay if I take next Wednesday off? And I look at the calendar and say, yeah, but let's reschedule this or that. And you know, again, our culture is, you know, that we're trying to pour into people and help them live their best lives and everything else. And then so far, the response is, and that they are behaving like team players that are part of the, you know, want to be part of the success of the team, and they're getting stuff done. So
this is like blowing my mind, only because I come from a corporate background too. And I'm like, it's insane to me. So
obviously not startup technology corporate background. So.
No. So if they schedule a vacation and they take their computers with them in the off chance that they get stuck somewhere or they need to just, you know, look into something really quickly. But if on your calendar it's scheduled as vacation, you are not expecting them to be working.
Right.
So if your employee says, I'm going to go to Omaha and I'm going to be not working on these 2 days, that's not technically vacation. Then they're just moving locations and they're still working. Yes, or is that?
I mean, the 2 days they're not working, that's vacation,
Yeah.
right? But again, we don't, you know, whether it's 2 days or 8 days, there's technically not a difference. But yeah, then they're just working, you know, remotely from Nebraska versus working remotely from their house.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of working remotely or vacation and what is required of them when they say they're going to be off. So you're saying, if they're saying, I'm going to Mexico, I'm going to have my laptop, but don't talk to me for a week, that's vacation, quote unquote. But if they're like, hey, I'm traveling, I'm going to be working in Omaha instead of Austin, that's not necessarily vacation. You can still reach out to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
when they're working remotely, they still get on our team call every morning and they, you know, they're still on Slack and email and stuff. They may work slightly shorter days or, you know, again, take a half day in there, you know, because, oh, their little sister's graduating and they're setting up for the party or, you know, whatever the thing is. But they seem to really like and respect that ability to kind of pick up and go somewhere.
Yeah, it's actually one of the many reasons that I wanted to join the Simone Group is because of that kind of innovative, different way, that different approach. And I will say that our transaction coordinator, who is like a total linchpin for our team, she over the summer, you know, would travel 3 hours to Ocean City, New Jersey. She would take her computer with her. Her boyfriend would drive. She would, if things came up, it's a Saturday in the summer, you know, and if things came up, she would take care of it. On the computer, she would deal with calls. And I mean, she knew that came with the territory. It means that she gets to do both things and, you know, be helpful for the team and make that happen. And yet also not count it as a vacation day, but still get to sit in the sunshine on a beach. And I will say it takes a certain kind of mentality and a certain kind of discipline, in my experience, to really get it and not take advantage of it, because we did have this one experience that someone really wasn't answering the phone and they weren't answering the Trello messages and they weren't answering, and then it meant that work was put on hold. So as long as the work keeps moving and there aren't challenges there, it's been a great benefit for our team members to be able to do that. But there are times when folks are on vacation that they legit turn off their notifications, turn off their ringers, don't even look at their computer, which is, of course, much needed to just totally check out. So.
And for
My
those-
mind is totally blown right now, too.
Yeah.
That's not really a thing in New York.
And for those instances when they're on vacation, they've set up whoever's going to be handling the
Correct.
work. Okay.
Yeah, we have a big meeting beforehand, make sure that everybody knows, the buyer's agents, the listing manager, whoever's responsible for what. And we really try to give people, when they're on vacation, you know, we try to give everyone the space and the time that they need, because they do work so hard, and put in a lot of time. So.
Well, and I think one of the things too with our team now, and I've really modeled this and now everybody else is kind of doing it. Like when I step away from my desk, I drop a note in Slack. And so everybody knows, you know, oh, you know, like, oh, hey guys, I gotta go let my neighbor's dogs out. I'm gonna be gone for half an hour or whatever it is. And then, yeah, we get notes all day. Hey, I'm running to the post office. Hey, I gotta go to the bank, or, you know, like, hey, have been dealing with this crazy client. I need to just go for a walk. And so it's the accountability piece is like, we're never wondering where somebody is. Like, you know, they're dropping notes in there. And so, you know, letting us know, and, you know, a lot of times we'll pop something in there and say, look, you know, I'm fried, I'm signing off for the day. If it's an emergency, call me. But
I have a question. You mentioned Slack and knowing where you all are. So is that like where you would, it's like instant messenger, basically? You could see somebody's status. So if you're looking for so-and-so, you look there first?
and you can set a status in Slack. So Slack is like a messaging program app, and you have all these different channels, and different people can belong in different channels. So we have like an ops channel where I may only message the ops people. Sometimes I may message the whole team. And then we have dozens of Slack channels. Like every single transaction we do has its own Slack channel. And then, you know, the people who need to be in each channel are in there, so.
Chrissy, you said something earlier that I don't know if people caught, but your team is results-based. So they're not time-based. It's not like everybody works 8 to 5, you clock out at 5, right? It's you get your job done, and however long that takes you is however long that takes you.
My apologies. I wasn't expecting that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So yeah, we are results-based, and it's not, you know, I hear about different teams that are very competitive. It's not that our team isn't competitive, but that are very, you know, trying to push to get the, you know, 3 more in before the deadline kind of thing. That is not the atmosphere that we really have in our office. It is pretty laid back. We have a ping pong table. We order out a lot. It's way different than anything I've ever experienced before, to be totally honest. And it works. It works because people get the benefit of being able to, if they have a doctor's appointment and they need to go to it, then hey, you don't have to announce to the whole world necessarily or get approval. It's not even announcing, because you do let us know, like, hey, I'm going to be out of the office. But it's like you don't have to ask for permission. And it takes that piece away that I was okay with in the corporate world. Like, that was just kind of how I grew up, and that was the way life was. But taking that away, it gives me a greater sense of autonomy. And I think it gives my team a greater sense of autonomy. But it is about making sure that stuff gets done. And we have a team that, you know, we do the CV process, we do all the normal things to make sure that folks really understand what that means and really buy into it when they come on board. And luckily, in my experience, you know, the people who we've brought on since I've been here seem to fit that mold, and it's great. It's just about communication and making sure that you're hitting the goals that we have set for the team. And actually, sometimes we don't hit the goals because our goals are not necessarily those achievable ones. They're the ones that are like a little bit more than the potentially achievable ones. It's just a different way of thinking. And I don't know if you guys sense it, but I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it because it is so different. But what I know is that my life just feels a lot more balanced, and like I can do all the things that I need to do. You know, sometimes when my kids go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, I'm up doing stuff to make sure that I've taken care of it. But it's results based.
So go ahead, sorry.
Here in Austin, there's now a lot of real estate startup tech. You know, there's Orchard, and of course Tim Heil and Homeward, and there's, you know, all these companies. And if you go, and I mean, Realtor.com and all these companies, they have jobs posted all the time wanting somebody with 2 to 3 years of transaction experience or 1 to 2 years of transaction experience. And what I really don't want to be is the training ground for them to come poach my people every year, you know, and, you know, I can't compete with tech on, you know, like when I left tech and I don't get a catered lunch every single day from the restaurant I chose. And I don't have, you know, an enormous kitchen with cold brew and 9 kinds of sparkling water and, you know, snacks and everything else. Like I can't compete with the tech companies on that, but I can try to compete on that work-life balance piece and that satisfaction and being part of a team. And so that's really where I'm trying to be creative on that retention piece and see, like with my TC and listing manager, neither one of them are licensed. And, you know, I told them November and December, I had already agreed with the listing manager we were paying for her classes, but for the TC had mentioned she was going to wait till she got her Christmas money and then start working on her classes. And I said, well, you know what, we're going to pour into you. I'm going to pay for your classes. And then I told them both, November and December, time block an hour every day to work on those classes, like on the clock or whatever. And so again, not that that's part of vacation, but that's just the vacation piece, and the remote work piece is just working on retention.
This is such a powerful conversation, guys. Study after study has shown that women in particular favor temporal flexibility in the workplace above almost anything else. So the ability to, like Chrissy said, not ask permission. If I want to go to my kids' cupcake breakfast, I don't know what kids do, then I can go and I don't need to ask. Or if I need to go to the doctor, I can go and I don't need to ask. Or if I want to drive and work somewhere else, I don't need to ask. And we all know in the COVID era, like that is like people are favoring that for sure. I would also point out something that both Angie and Chrissy have said is that this is like a natural extension of who their team is. This is like a cultural representation of who they are. So this comes with a warning label. Like there are teams whose culture would not, this would be like oil and water for, and would maybe even become toxic. So if you've got a culture like the one Chrissy was describing, like where you go get, like it's, 3 minutes till the bell dings and you better be working to get that last sale. And then you add in some of these like more laid back policies, you could see a real cultural rub on how people behave. So this has to be like this has to be cohesive with your overall being as a team in order to be as beneficial as it's been for Chrissy and Angie. Just wanted to point that out.
I have a question about policies and work-life balance with y'all's buyer team. So we're running into issues where this particular team member on the buyer's team continues to go unannounced. So it's funny because at first I'm like, oh, we're so flexible. I don't care if you need to go run an errand, go to cupcake party, go to the doctor, just put it, out of office, like no big deal. Just so we know if we're trying to get Megan, like, where is she? Okay. Like, oh, she's at the cupcake party. Fine. But on the flip side, this person in our meeting today, again, is like, oh, I forgot. Yeah, I've got to go to Dallas. And I'm like, oh my God, like, are you ever here on the weekend to work with buyers? So how do y'all do that does anybody have a small team outside of just vacation, like saying, what should we expect? Like, we can't expect them to be in town all the time, but also as the buyer's market specialist, they've got to be in town on the weekends doing the open houses and meeting and showing and all that. So how do y'all handle that? Anybody?
Yeah.
Well,
This goes back to the standard of, on the sales agreement, we have a standard that they have to hold, 3 open houses a weekend or a month. They can do them Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and those be the 3 open houses, or And especially in this market with all the homes going under contract so fast, sometimes we don't have any for them to hold open. So we have moved open houses into Friday nights, with the newly listed. So for us, for our sales team, it's just a standard that they understand that, this is what you do to hold open. And we just have meetings and we schedule out holidays and what weekends some of the agents are going to be gone, and to kind of make sure that not the whole buyer agent team is gone at the same time, and that we just kind of rotate and talk about it a month in advance. And we've got a big team calendar scheduled out for trainings and vacations. So I know like next weekend who's going to be gone, who's not, and we just work around it.
So that's for open houses. For showings, like, is it just if someone is available or they're gone, just pass it on? And I guess, how do you deal with that? If someone has a client and they're gone, it's up to them to find a way to get them in the door.
Correct. We've got showing assistants, and they have to, if they're gone for, whatever reason, they've got to set up the showing assistants and pay that out of their, for our team, 50-50 split. So it's on them to plan that. I get it. If there's an emergency or, they come down with COVID, we will obviously cover. But for planned vacations, for showings, they've got to get that shift covered.
Well, and like when our agents are traveling, like our main agents all have their own showing assistant. And so I think they kind of work that out together among themselves. But, we definitely, like with our rainmaker, if she's gone, she's like, okay, like, so-and-so is handling my listings this weekend. And, like if something goes under contract. And so they kind of negotiate with themselves who's going to cover what. And so I think probably if there was somebody on the team that was asking to be covered more than they were participating, they would just sort of, probably find people that weren't willing to do it anymore. And again, that wouldn't be in culture. But, I talked to Megan about this week. We probably need another couple of agents just for the amount of leads that we have. But I'm really gun shy. Like, we've got a good group right now. We've got a good culture and everything's flowing and in fit. And want to make sure we don't drop a bomb into the middle of it and like blow it all up again. So
Our office actually has some people that we reach out to at other Keller Williams offices who do the open house for our agent. They don't get a percentage, but they could potentially get the buyer.
right.
So that's how it behooves them to stand in and do the open house.
That's what we do too. We don't have somebody on staff, but it sounds like to me that that's more of a production issue than a work-life balance issue. I think that person is taking advantage similarly to what Chrissy was talking about with her individual.
Yeah, in our case, we always have folks coordinate in advance. If Jody's out, our listing agent, well, actually, I guess it's buyer's agents usually, but yeah, if Scott's going to be out of town over the weekend and he can't do the open house, then he coordinates with someone else and they cover each other. And if it's actually a conversation that we have from time to time, because you could go out and show someone like 5 different houses and then they go under contract while the original agent is still on vacation, but the agent who's been stepping in actually starts making it happen. And then it's like, okay, well, does the agent who starts making things happen get compensated to a degree or not? And what we do is we just have people talk about it in advance and say, hey guys, it's on you guys. You can decide how you want to do it, but think about it ahead of time, come up with what you guys are comfortable with, And that's what you're going to do so that everybody knows in advance, because it's really not fun when those things happen and you don't know in advance and you're kind of stuck in this position of like, oh, well, I just made all this stuff happen for someone who wasn't here and I get nothing. Well, you know, so have those conversations ahead of time. I find that very
Exactly. That's my point. You're spot on. Yeah. Mama, sorry.
I love it.
But again, I think it comes back to a culture thing too, because I know a lot of times when I'm getting ready to pay commission, I will Slack the agent and say, okay, this property, you know, this much was the referral, this much is going to your showing assistant, this much is going to you or whatever. And I have them sign off on it before I like process it. And I mean, there'll be times they're like, no, I'm going to split it 50-50 with my showing assistant because I was gone and she did all the work. Or sometimes it'll be, oh, you know what? Can you give this to somebody else on the team that went and opened? Can you give them $100 because they went and opened some doors while I was gone? Or, you know, like whatever the thing is. And again, I think it's a culture. I mean, I think I've talked about, I find out all the time that my agents have sent our cyberbacker an extra $50 or an extra $100 on their own because she helped them out with something. So again, I think it's a culture thing. And again, we didn't have it right for a long time. I'm not saying, oh, we know all the answers. Like it was a hot mess for 2 years and then we're finally getting there.
Which is why you don't want to mess it up again.
Yeah, exactly. Building those bunkers. Yeah. So.
What other questions do we have around vacations?
I say don't forget to plan them because inevitably you will get 2 deals the night before or the morning on your airplane trip. It literally always happens. Thanksgiving Eve and Christmas Eve. I'm like, oh, there we go again. I just am curious. Do y'all all see, like we legitimately every year have this happen? Is it just us or is it everybody?
I don't remember a lot happening Thanksgiving week. In fact, but the week between Christmas and New Year's, there's not a lot closing, but the things that do, they really want to get closed because of the tax stuff or whatever. So I know I did even suggest with my listing manager and my transaction coordinator, you know, I told them to pick a week before or a week after Christmas. I said, you know, the TC may want to be here the week between Christmas and New Year's because there's probably going to be a little bit crazier stuff going with those deals. But for them to work it out between themselves.
Okay, I do have one more question talking, you just mentioned TC and buyer's agents and, you know, so I know most people from what I'm understanding, write, the agent writes their own offers. Well, I don't, I get my TC to do it. But in situations where, but I'm considering switching it for various reasons. So anyway, my point is if you're on vacation, your agent who writes your offers, what do you do when the TC is out on vacation? Do you have multiple TCs? Like who fills in those gaps?
Our agents write all their offers. So whoever's covering for that person with that buyer would write the offer or whatever. Now usually it's our VA that does, you know, the amendments or the, you know, any of the stuff after something's under contract, whether it's, you know, we're changing the closing date or something changed on the, you know, whatever it is, usually she preps all that and sends it out. But the offers, that's the agents.
So your agent's on Christmas vacation and one of their clients is like, I want to submit an offer. It's like business as usual. We have the internet. They're just going to have to do it. Is that kind of?
No, it's whatever agent is covering for them with their buyers. So like they'll call any of their clients that are, hot, like actively looking, and say, hey, I'm going to be gone this time. This is my showing assistant is here to help you, or whatever. So
Got
it's covering for them. And then they have that in their voice on the recording on their voicemail. They have it on their out of office for email, that if it's, something about a current under contract, reach out to the TC or the listing manager, depending on whatever. But yeah, it's in all of the out of office messages. But have any of you come up with what you do if you can't go anywhere? Because I know my thing has been, I canceled so many trips the last 2 years, and I'm not good at like just taking off to like just hang out at my house. And so trying to find a reason to take off. Like, has anybody come up with that?
Go on long weekend trips that are like close by. Find a cool Airbnb and go spend like a cool weekend hiking or doing something fun, like getting away from life. Or that's what I do.
Yeah, but I mean like the more like a week, 2 weeks solid, like, I just can't really sit around my house for a week, and
I thought you were going to Portugal. What are we talking about here?
I'm talking about Portugal for Thanksgiving. Like I'm thinking about that because their vaccination rates are through the roof, and I love Portugal. So that I'm thinking about, but I was supposed to be gone, 2.5 weeks in July, and that trip got canceled, and I certainly didn't take 2.5 weeks off. So
Anyone doing some fabulous staycationing find a way to unplug for 2.5 weeks? We need Nick Sandine. He's like the world's best vacationer on the planet. Give with Nick.
I always find home projects to do, so that's not very exciting, but I will make sure that there is work in a different sense, but also some play. So yeah, not helpful, but that's how I roll.
Angie, I'm a big traveler too. Like I love to leave the country. But this summer obviously didn't do it. And instead I took a week staycation. Now I have kids and I don't have kids, but I basically did everything I wanted to do that would normally just be like a fun weekend thing, but I did it over 9 days. So it's like we went to a ball game, we saw a fireworks show, we drove to the coast for 2 days. Like I just literally did all of the normal weekend stuff, like packed everything I wanted to do, took my kids with me. So it's like kid friendly, but went to places around town we'd never been, or did extra long, took an extra long route back from our coast house and, did some extra fun things, ate different barbecue places, just did fun things that are like normal weekend. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but it would be like just a normal half a day, only I've stacked them all in there for 9 days.
You mean like if you were a normal person and not in real estate, like what normal people do in their lives?
Yeah, it was a blast. I had a blast. I was like, oh my gosh, I would totally do this again. It was like all the stuff you're like, I'm going to do that one day. And I just did it all. It was great. It was not as good as Portugal, probably, but it was still fun.
Yeah, we did that last year. We went in the middle of the week with the neighbors out to Fredericksburg and did all the wineries for 3 or 4 days. But again, I've been to most of the wineries a few times at this point.
I think our problem is just shutting off. Like I'm always thinking about ideas. So what's your best shut off practices while we're talking about vacations? You literally just turn it off and leave it at home?
pack it in. I mean, like, just if your itinerary is so busy and you are trying to see and do everything because you may never come here again. And so this is your, I mean, I vacation like it's a blood sport. And like, if I'm never coming here again, what am I going to get done? Now I come home and I'm exhausted and I'm crazy. And like, people are like, go home. Like you don't make sense right now. But if you're that busy, you don't have time to think about work.
I missed the first 20 minutes, so this may be like old news. Y'all have already covered it and I'm just behind. But to me, to fully enjoy the vacation, I have to feel like things at the office are somewhat handled. And so our Q4 focus is just a ton of cross training, like making sure that if anyone is out, if the TC is going to be gone a week, who's going to cover that? What does that look like? What can the cyberbacker do? What do I need to take over? What can just wait? What can she prep ahead of time, and then it can just sit until she gets back? Because I've found in the last couple of trips that I've taken, when things aren't prepped as well and you get those calls and texts, it like pulls you out of that away mode so fast, and it like ruins, you're like in this like great aha retreat break brain place, and then you get that one text or email and you're like, oh crap, and it zaps you out of that place really quickly. And so I just really am trying to focus on making sure that, one, everybody in the operations team can do everyone else's job, at least temporarily. And then two, the other thing is just not checking emails or not answering those text messages and going, you know what, no one's going to die, nothing's going to fall apart. It can wait, or someone else can take care of it. And they don't need me that badly. So just trying to stay in the moment if you're gone, but when you're here, be fully in it and prep it and make sure that other people can do your job at a high level.
Y'all take notes from Abby. She's the kind of girl just fly to London for the weekend just because she wants to. Like she's got some vacation skills.
Definitely turn off all of the notifications, all of them. That is like number one, because if I hear that ping, if I hear something, it's going to like click me into like go mode. And when I'm on vacation, that's the last thing I want to hear. So
yeah, see, I don't do that because like, again, it's our culture. Like, we threaten each other. Don't you dare call her while she's out, like, or whatever. And I was out on my birthday and like my phone kept blowing up and it was like happy birthday messages, but just that ding is so jarring. It was like,
it is.
I'm like, leave me alone. Like I'm drinking, like leave me alone.
Well, and I guess this is a good question, like on your texts. Okay, so do we have ways to say, thank you for your text? Text Susie Q, I am away, la la la, or like, what do y'all do for, I know email, you have auto reply, but does anyone have text replies? If we're gonna truly say, hey, shut it off.
I know our agents do. That's something that they do. I have not practiced that myself. I don't know if it's an app or something like that, but our agents definitely have that on their phones, and it's lovely because it's just immediate. It's right there. Then whoever they need to contact, they can just press the number. They don't have to type in anything else. So yeah, that's what they do.
And I do it on iPhone also. You can do an auto responder on text. Yeah, you just have to put yourself on do not disturb and then go to your settings and decide what auto text you want to come on if you're on do not disturb.
Awesome.
Well, and I know when our Rainmaker went out of the country in July, I mean, it was painful, but we had her phone just forwarded to me because her husband begged me, like, how can we get her not to work while we're in Jamaica? And so she wouldn't leave her phone behind because I think she probably would have like had a heart attack. But we did forward all her calls to my phone. And now I've never had that many calls in a week in my entire life. And I hope to only do that on very, very rare occasions. But it was great because only we could only reach her if I called her husband. Like she could not get calls no matter how hard she tried. And she did text people and tell them to call her, and then it would call me, and I'm like, oh, sorry, no, she's not allowed to talk this week. So if you have someone on your team that's hard to get to let go, you know, that's also an option, is on, at least on iPhones, they can forward their calls to another number.
Yeah, and I would second that in terms of forwarding emails. In addition to putting a signature on it, or that says, or an out of office message, I would also have, like, my transaction coordinator, when she was gone for a week in Mexico, I had her forward all of her emails to me, because God forbid we miss something, you know, so that it was overwhelming, but it was incredibly helpful. And actually it helped train me in her position, you know, baptism by fire, but it was really essential that we did that. So.
So Abby, you got your glasses back?
I did. Oh my gosh, that was so I saw Angie at this Ops Boss retreat, and y'all, here's a vacation story for you. Pack extra glasses. There was a Warby Parker store near where I was staying, and my glasses were scratched. I was like, oh, I'm going to stop in here and get them to fix them. And they're like, well, we don't fix them here, but you're under warranty, so just turn them in, and, you know, we'll send you a free pair and we'll fix them for free. And I was like, oh, of course, I'm sure I have extra glasses in the room. It's fine. Yes, here, take my glasses. No big deal. Definitely didn't pack extra glasses. So I literally, when there were slides at the retreat, I put my prescription sunglasses on and looked like I was just trying to be the coolest kid in the room, and, you know, was the celebrity ops person at the retreat. So yeah, so if you wear glasses, pack extras, because when you turn yours in to get fixed, you don't have extras, and you wear prescription sunglasses, reading slides. You look really, really awesome.
Well, and then running into Abby, you had to get like pretty close to her before she knew who you were.
Added a little excitement to the weekend.
I couldn't find my glasses once all over my house, and I panicked, and it was like half the day, and my assistant was like, I'm ordering you contacts, and she got me contacts like within, I don't know, I want to say hours or something. And it was great because it was days before I found my glasses. So you could also do that in a pinch, just heads up.
Cheryl, I thought you were going to say then you found out they were on your head the whole time.
It totally could have been one of those situations. Yes. Yeah. I think when my darling children took them somewhere. Yeah.
Jess has a question.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
You know I'll call you out.
Yeah, I do have a quick question. So have any of y'all ever been in a situation where you had a vacation planned, your TC unexpectedly had a baby early, and then your marketing manager had emergency and there was no coverage? Like, did you just give up your vacation, or did you, like, who's covering for you? What happens next? Like, if you're out, who's got your back?
Your agent, they got to figure it out. I mean, that's what we would do, but we're much smaller, I'm sure, than you are. I feel like everything falls back on me anyway. So I would think it would be the team leader or the agent. Like, if there is an emergency, like you had a planned vacation and it was approved, right? Like, I mean, they're like, bye.
It's actually a vacation that is rescheduled twice from the day before COVID. So, like, I've had these festival tickets for.
Oh, it hasn't happened yet. It's coming up.
Well, it happened, and then it's about to happen again. I mean, now I know that the TC's out. So Anna, I have a virtual TC that's handling that, but she doesn't handle anything in office. It's like a third party while she's on maternity. Now I'm about to go again. And then Julia has, she had a family emergency.
So, like, just I don't know, I would say just brain dump everything that needs to be done while you're gone and split it up and go to your team leader, or you go, hey, look, there's like these 6 things that need to happen. And either, you know, we need to, I mean, you have plans, like your plans have plane tickets or whatever, I don't know, but you're gone, right? I mean, does anyone agree with me? I wouldn't expect you to cancel your plans.
What other admin are at the office?
That's it. So when I was gone 2 weeks ago for fall break with my kids, she had her baby. And I was like, okay, it was just me and my kids. Like I didn't mind, like, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was only like a 3-day trip, 4-day trip. But then this one comes up and it's still an ongoing issue. So I'm like, well, I'm still thinking I'm going. I don't like.
I mean, I've had that come up in corporate or when I was teaching and things like that. And I think some of it is you triage. Okay, like these are the things that have to be handled, and these are the things that are just going to push. And it's just like, I leave an out of office message if I'm at a conference, and it's like, okay, like I'm still working when I'm at the conference, but realize, and like my out of office message says, you know, I'm at a conference through this time. I may not respond to your messages until Friday, or like whatever it is. So you're managing that. I have before, though, in this instance is like, okay, I get up early in the morning while I'm on vacation and block an hour, and I only deal with the emails that have to be dealt with, and everything else can get pushed till you get back or whatever. But I mean, even I don't let anybody else do payroll but me. So even if I'm on vacation when payroll has to be run, like I log in and I run payroll or whatever. And it, you know, and that causes me less anxiety than the idea that I tried to train somebody to do it. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to
exactly.
fix it.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I'm thinking of one trip that we took. We never go on vacation ever. So we took a trip to Colorado, and with the kids, we went snowing. Oh my gosh, whatever. We went in the snow. And I feel like, I guess what I'm saying is, don't let your emergency colleagues like ruin your trip. I like the idea of time blocking, but if you say I'm only doing this for an hour and then I'm gone, like actually mean it and be gone, because this one client sucked up so much of our time during our trip that we didn't get to enjoy it. And it was just a lot of money like spent, you know, and it was stressful. So I'm trying to think like, yes, do the things that only you can do and try to do them early or late. But I mean, maybe just have a conversation with your team leader and go, well, I mean, what should we do? And
Yeah, I'll ask Tom. I haven't taken it to him yet. So
It's a tough one and it's super unique.
Well, but I think the culture thing too is like right now, I'm the only person in leadership that's actually working this week because people have gone down hard, and I'm picking up stuff that's not necessarily part of my job. And I've, you know, told all of them, I was like, okay, you guys getting tough is going to kill me, you know, and when you're all back, I'm taking a day off. But I think it's that culture thing is like, sometimes it sucks if you're the last man standing and everybody else is gone, but you just, you know, we have each other's backs, and that's what we're doing it for, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just take it a time. I don't know about y'all, but I always work harder the week before vacation than I ever work. So I'll get it set up.
You get that nice reward at the end.
Yeah, I'll put in those 12-hour days.
How long are you going out of town for?
Just, it's a Thursday. Like I'm going to drive down Wednesday, but I can work. I'll be a passenger, and then I can work driving back Monday. So it's only gonna be 3 days, and it's no kids and stuff. So I'm not trying to answer my phone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I was just like listening to taking in all that advice about, I always naturally just check everything before I get to like that first hour, Angie. Like I just naturally do that even if no matter what, because the anxiety of coming back to everything, I just don't want to deal with it. So I'll definitely do that. But I think most things I can take care of beforehand, and then I'll just put it on Tom and be like, this is what you're going to need to do while I'm gone. So,
Well, I think that too, if you can't be gone 4 days, then there's something broken. I mean, I get that it's like kind of a perfect storm of other people are gone too, but I know that we kind of look at it when somebody's out as a chance for us to figure out what's broken and use it to inform what we're going to fix next. And I know, you know, in the Fix This Next book, it talks about that, you know, somebody should be able to be out, you know, like in leadership for a month solid and it not affect things. And I know my Rainmaker and I have talked about, like, that's her goal for me. She's like, at some point in the next couple of years, I want you to take a solid month off and like nobody talk to you. So now that's goals. I don't know if that'll happen, but that's, you know, that's the lofty goal there.
Okay, gang, we're almost out of time. So next week, Zach is putting an MREA game night together for us. So we're gonna have fun with MREA. And then just a reminder, our book this month was Raving Fans. And then on November 3rd, we'll talk about it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, gang. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.